Falcons are nearing a deal to make Raheem Morris their next head coach. That is, the Lakers will take over for Arthur Smith, who was let go after 3 years in Atlanta. Now, the Commanders are not interested. The Seahawks have not requested an interview with Bill Belichick.
I am in disbelief about this situation, and it's nothing against the incredible individuals that successfully secured coveted head coaching positions. I just felt like this would not be a scenario at all. I felt like no matter what, there was going to be one team that would hire Bill Belichick. And theoretically, there are 2 teams that still could, but it doesn't make sense for them to do so, nor did he actually have an interview with either of these teams. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. We've been uploading twice a day for practically the whole week. If you want to check us out on other social media platforms, we also upload on Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Now that we get all that out of the way, work! This is the easiest way to make $150 now. All Christian McCaffrey needs in the NFC Championship is 1 rush yard, which means he's pretty much a free square on Prize Picks. All you have to do is download Prize Picks, use my promo code Mikerophone to double your deposit up until $100, and then make these picks. I got Isaiah Pacheco scoring 1 touchdown, and Harrison Butker making more than 1.5 field goals. Isaiah Pacheco has scored 1 touchdown over the last 5 games. Harrison Butker has been on a field goal frenzy, and I placed $24 to make $150, which are incredible odds. I post my picks for free on a daily basis on my Instagram and Snapchat story, and thank you Prize Picks for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Ever since Tom Brady left the New England Patriots and successfully won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the narrative surrounding Bill Belichick changed significantly. It went from him being revered as one of the greatest head coaches, if not the greatest head coach in NFL history, to a head coach that got carried by Tom Brady. Now, you guys already know how I feel about Bill Belichick. I personally believe that if it wasn't for Bill Belichick deciding to stick with Tom Brady, even once Drew Bledsoe recovered and returned from injury, then there may have never been a Tom Brady to begin with. If it wasn't for Bill Belichick giving Tom Brady that initial chance, then obviously the New England Patriots dynasty would have never happened. And I believe both Tom Brady and Bill Belichick both deserve credit for the success that they've had. But an individual that sees it completely differently, and it's a pretty unique take on the matter, is none other than Skip Bayless, who put things in a specific way that really discredits Bill Belichick, but it's not really as bad as you think when you listen to him give the take.
I say that it's unquestioned that Bill Belichick's the greatest coach ever. He is available. He's on the market. Without Tom Brady as his quarterback, Bill Belichick is 21 games under 500. He's 64-85 in games that Tom Brady didn't start at quarterback for him. And once Tom got kicked out the back door in New England, Bill went 29-38. And in the 4 years made it to 1 playoff game and lost that game 47-17. And I always give it up to you guys. I say he's the greatest defensive mind ever. I give you that. But in the end, that means he was a glorified defensive coordinator for a dynasty because he ran the defense while Tom effectively ran the offense and made all the late plays to win all those Super Bowls.
So throughout the entire year, I named 3 primary contenders to potentially hire Bill Belichick. The first one being the Los Angeles Chargers. I thought it was a home run. Who wouldn't want to spend time in Los Angeles following spending all of your time in the East? The weather is nice. You're next to the beach. There's horrible traffic. There's homeless people everywhere. Hey, I live in LA. I get to roast my city. Come on. But on top of that, for football reasons, you have Justin Herbert under center, a great wide receiver core, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James. I mean, this team just needs the right head coach that isn't Brandon Staley, and this team could easily potentially win a Super Bowl. They're 100% considered to be contenders with a blue chip head coach. But unfortunately for Bill Belichick, the Chargers already got their blue chip head coach. We made a video on it just the other day. Jim Harbaugh took the head coaching position of the LA Chargers. But luckily for Bill Belichick, there were other fairly appealing jobs. I mean, the New England Patriots would have been a great job for Bill Belichick as well, for him to return for 1 more year. year, he would have had his highest draft pick throughout his entire tenure with the team. They had $65 million in cap space, but they decided to elevate Gerard Mayo instead of Bill Belichick, which makes a lot of sense because whenever you have to undertake a huge rebuild the way the New England Patriots have to, it just makes a lot of sense to get a young head coach to potentially grow with this new rebuilding team as opposed to the existing head coach that may not have gotten along with Mac Jones and may have been butting heads with ownership. It's very difficult to do a rebuild under those pretenses. So Bill Belichick started looking elsewhere. Another team that I floated out was the Washington Commanders, another team that has a high draft pick and $70 million in cap space. They recently hired Bob Myers. They have a brand new ownership group, but it seems like the Washington Commanders are more likely to hire Vance McDonald or Ben Johnson as opposed to Bill Belichick. What about the Dallas Cowboys? Well, the Dallas Cowboys decided to keep Mike McCarthy for one more season. As a matter of fact, there's only one team that was really the primary contender for Bill Belichick's services, and that was the Atlanta Falcons. I said in our last video on the subject, the Atlanta Falcons had the opportunity to do something that is absolutely hysterical, and that's hire the same head coach that came back 28-3 against the team in one of the greatest Super Bowl comebacks in NFL history. And as a matter of fact, Bill Belichick even conducted 2 interviews with the Atlanta Falcons, but there were some problems with the Atlanta Falcons. We found out just the other day that the front office of the Atlanta Falcons does not want owner Arthur Blank to hire Bill Belichick as their new head coach. The people that run the franchise, they just want to keep their jobs. They're in job preservation mode. So they're like, maybe we hire Raheem Morris. But at the same time, it's Bill freaking Belichick, one of the most legendary head coaches of all time. Even if he is a glorified defensive coordinator, he's a pretty damn good one at that. But it seems like the Falcons officially made their decision. According to Adam Schefter, the Falcons plan to hire defensive coordinator Raheem Morris as their head coach, which is a bombshell if you are an Atlanta Falcons fan. I mean, nothing against Raheem Morris. I mean, I myself as a Cowboy fan was bummed out when we didn't go after Bill Belichick. But if I first saw this as a Falcons fan, I'd be a little disappointed. Nothing against Raheem Morris. I'd wonder why wouldn't we get Bill Belichick instead? After all, the Falcons were the only team to interview legendary coach Bill Belichick, and there are no known scheduled interviews. Potentially, Belichick could sit out the year and await an opportunity in 2025. The only 2 things that Bill Belichick doesn't have going for him is 1, the fact that he would want a similar deal as he had in New England. He may want full control of the front office once again, and when you already have an established front office and things have been working well with that front office, chances are you don't want to hire Bill Belichick, and that's very fair. After all, the Falcons front office has been doing a remarkable job at constructing the team, drafting Kyle Pitts, then Drake London, then Bijan Robinson. They just got unlucky and hired a head coach that refused to use any of them for some reason. There's great options for them to get a quarterback during this offseason. I want to see who the Falcons are going to be targeting for offensive coordinator. At the time of this video, it's still not known yet, but I don't think Raheem Morris is a bad hire. I'm glad to see him getting his opportunity. I felt like Bill Belichick would be a better fit for a team like the Chargers or a team like the Cowboys or a team that just needs him to come in and make sure that he utilizes the existing talent on the roster to bring them a Super Bowl. Because Bill Belichick has already proven to us that he's not really good at rebuilding rosters in his vision. And in the case of the Falcons, I felt like if you come in, trade for Justin Fields, you already have Drake London, you have Bijan Robinson, you have AJ Terrell on the defensive side of the ball, you have Jesse Bates. I mean, this team is pretty good. They just didn't really have the greatest head coach over the past couple of years. And I don't want to say that the Falcons made the wrong hire. I could understand why they made this hire. You don't want to mess with the front office. You want the head coach to be the head coach and everybody to stay in their lane when it comes to constructing this roster. And to the credit of that front office, they shouldn't be fired. They're doing a great job so far. But with that being said, if we take a look at all of the head coaching hirings in a nutshell, the Raiders have Antonio Pierce, the Patriots have Gerard Mayo, the Titans have Brian Callahan, the Chargers hired Jim Harbaugh, the Falcons hired Raheem Morris, and the Panthers hired Dave Canales. And for the Seahawks and Commanders, it's not like Bill Belichick even put in interviews with those 2 teams. The Commanders are known to be coveting Ben Johnson. The Seahawks want Dan Quinn or Mike Vrabel. A lot of Falcons fans are upset that Rich McKay hasn't been fired yet, but I don't think Rich McKay deserves to be fired as the general manager of the Buccaneers, so I could understand why this hiring was made at the end of the day. But as for Bill Belichick, what's his future going to look like? Well, I'm going to be honest, I think this could be very therapeutic for him. I think taking a step back and not being completely locked in on managing a football team, from the construction of the roster to the construction of the head coaching staff to figuring out who you should draft in the NFL draft to figuring out which game plan you should instill for this brand new roster, working with 53 brand new players that you haven't worked with before, moving to a brand new state, all of that, I feel like it would be good for him to take a step back and just reevaluate things next year. People are floating whether or not he's going to retire fully. I don't think he is going to retire fully, because at the end of the day, he's so close to beating Don Shula's win record, which would give him a pretty compelling resume to be considered as the greatest head coach of all time. I'm just going to be honest, I would have never thought that this situation would have happened, but if you look at each and every one of these teams from the very beginning, the only 4 teams that really made sense for him were the Chargers, the Commanders, the Cowboys, and the Falcons. And I guess you could give a bonus to the Patriots, but the Patriots seemed like they really wanted to move on. So last year was our first season without Tom Brady, and this year it seems like it's going to be our first season without Bill Belichick. Of course, unless the Seahawks or Commanders surprise us and hire him out of nowhere, which I guess could still happen. But let me know in the comment section down below. Are you as shocked as I am? Do you think Bill Belichick could potentially retire for good? I don't think it's necessarily going to happen, but I'd like to hear what you have to say. Why else do you think he didn't get hired? Let me know in the comment section down below. Aside from that, we just made a video on Dave Canales getting hired by the Carolina Panthers. Everything just changed for Bryce Young. I'll catch you guys there. It's probably the best thing that could have happened to the Carolina Panthers. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.